In this video, we are going to take a look at relating decimals and percents. And the goal for the video is to express decimals as percents and percents as decimals. Now, the essential question that we are going to try to answer throughout the video is how can you express decimals as percents and percents as decimals. So I want you to open up your standards practice book to page 253, and we're going to talk about a few things and unlock this idea. Okay, so at the very top it says decimals and percents are two ways of expressing the same number. Now you can write a percent as a decimal, and you can also write a decimal as a percent. Okay, now in percent the whole is 100. Okay, so no matter whatever you're talking about, whatever number you're dealing with, the whole always represents 100%. Even if you have 1,000 people, if everybody was wearing the color red, we would say 100% of the people were wearing the color red. Okay, now what is the whole in decimal form? Okay, let's write this out. The whole in decimal form would be 1.0, or we could even say 1.00, okay, would be the whole. Okay, so one whole here would be the decimal form of 100%. Okay, now let's take a look at unlocking the problem there on page 253. It says model 4200ths, write 4200ths as a percent. Now we're going to take a look at how this decimal relates to a percent. So first of all, it says write the decimal as a ratio. So 4200ths, okay, equals 42 out of 100. And we talked in the previous video about how percentages are just like representing ratios as well. Okay, now we have a model here that shows 42 out of 100. Okay, now we know from this model, even from the previous video, that whenever we have 42 squares out of 100 shaded in, 42 squares equals 42%, or can be written as 42% just like that. Okay, so we could see that the decimal 4200ths is related to 42%. Okay, and we even know it could be written as a fraction as 42 hundredths just like that, or 42 out of 100 equaling 42%. Okay, now let's take a look at example 2. We'll do this together. It says write the percent as a fraction. Okay, so step 1, we have 19% that we're taking a look at, and 19% equals 19 out of 100. Okay, now we're going to make a model that shows 19 out of 100, so we know that one whole line can be shaded in right here, representing 10. And then the next row, or next column, we have 9 that are shaded in. Now you know yours probably looks a lot prettier than mine. Okay, so now we have 19 squares shaded in. Okay, so we are taking a look at that 19 squares. 19 hundredths of this is shaded in, so 19 squares out of 100 would equal the decimal of 0.19. Okay, or 19 hundredths that are shaded in. Now let's take a look at a few more problems together, and I want you to turn to page 254 in your book. Okay, so it says use the model, complete each statement. Okay, 1a, we have 68 hundredths equals what out of 100? Okay, now we can easily see that 68 hundredths here, we have 68 little squares shaded in because we have 6 columns shaded in and 8 on the other one, giving us 68 out of 100. Okay, so how many squares are shaded in? We know 68 squares are shaded in. What percent is shaded in? If it's 68 out of 100 or 68 hundredths, we see just 68%. Okay, now you can see what we're doing here. Whenever you change a decimal to a percent, what you do is you take your decimal and you just simply move it 2 places to the right. Okay, and that gives us 68%. Okay, just like if you have a percent here, we have 68%. if we want to change that to a decimal, we take that decimal, we move it 2 places to the left, and the reason why we're moving it 2 places because it means out of 100. Okay, so we move it, making it 68 hundredths now. Okay, 68 hundredths, we move it 2 places to the left. So that is how you go from a percentage to a decimal and a decimal percentage as well. Okay, number 2, let's take a look at that. Write the percent as a decimal. So we have 47%. You need to think about 47% also does mean 47 out of 100 or 47 hundredths, or if you take the decimal point for percentage, you move it 2 places to the left, right in front of that 47 there. We have 47 hundredths as a decimal there. Okay, number 3, 11%. Think about percentages out of 100. 11 out of 100, or 11 hundredths. We can write 11% as the decimal, 0.11, or 11 hundredths. Let's take a look at some more problems here. Okay, we have numbers 4 through 11. It says write the decimals as percents. Let's do a couple of these first of all. So remember that 20 hundredths actually means 20 out of 100. So we could even take that decimal 2 places to the right, okay, making that 20 a whole number, and changing that to 20% there. Okay, let's do number 5 together. 39 hundredths. Okay, think about percent always means out of 100. So 39 out of 100, okay, would just give us 39% for this one. So you can see we're moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So since we're moving it 2 places to the right, we change that 39 to a whole number, then change that to a percent as well. Now what I want you to do is number 6 through 11 all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answers for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here are your answers for this problem, or these problems here. We can see some of the ones that may have been a little tricky could be numbers 9 and 11. Okay, now this was 7 tenths and 6 tenths. Okay, so think about 7 tenths of a 100 grid shaded in, okay, would actually mean 7 total columns. Okay, so 7 total columns would, or 7 tenths would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total columns shaded in. So we know 7 tenths actually does mean 70 hundredths as well. Okay, if you put a 0 at the end of that. Or we can even think of my other piece of advice I gave you. Whenever we're changing a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right, which would equal 70 there, so 70% there. Okay, number 10, 6%. Number 11, just like number 9, 6 tenths. Think about 6 tenths of a 100 grid shaded in, actually 60 total squares, so 60%. Okay, let's take a look at numbers 12 and 13. We want to write these percents as decimals. Okay, 12%, think of out of 100, 12 out of 100, or 12 hundredths would just be 0.12 there, or 0 and 12 hundredths. 31%. Okay, we can even think about changing a percent to a decimal. Okay, we can take that decimal, which is always understood to the right of the ones place, move it 2 places to the left, okay, for 31 hundredths. Okay, I want you to do numbers 14 through 19 all by yourself. Okay, keep in mind 19 and 16 could be a little tricky. Just think about moving that decimal 2 places to the left, or think about 4 out of 100 and 9 out of 100, and see what you get there. So 14 through 19 all by yourself. When you press play, I'll have the answers for you. So pause the video now. Okay, so here are the answers for numbers 14 to 19. Check and make sure your answers match up to mine. Now number 16 could have been a little tricky if we have 4%, but just remember, if we want to change that to a decimal, think of 4 out of 100, so it's going to have to be 4 hundredths, which is right here, Or if we take that decimal, move it 2 places to the left, okay, then just drop a 0 in for 4 hundredths there. Okay, same thing with number 19. Okay, now let's take a look at number 20. I want you to read through this problem, and when you're finished, I do want you to write the answer down, and when you think you have the answer correct, you can press play, and I will have the correct answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, so it's asking you basically what percentage of her shots did she miss. So we knew 56% of her shots that she made, because 56 hundredths could be transferred to 56%. So we always know that percentages mean out of 100, so we can take 100 and we can subtract 56 from that, giving us 44%. So what percentage of her shots did Linda miss? Linda missed 44% of her shots. Okay, let's go back to our essential question. How can you express decimals as percents and percents as decimals? A couple things that we unlocked here. You can write the decimal as a fraction with 100 as the denominator. Make a model to write a percent. You can write a percent as a fraction with 100 as the denominator, and then write the fraction as a decimal. And then also we talked about moving the decimal, either if it's already a percent, we move the decimal 2 places to the left, changing it to a decimal, or if it's a decimal, 2 places to the right to change it to a percent. Okay, so this is how you can relate decimals and percentages. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.